Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 71, Trap. The atmosphere was forbidding, it was so quiet that one could practically hear it if a pin drop. With his hands on the chair handles for support, Shi Hongxian reacted quickly in this heart-stopping atmosphere and said, obscuring truths with falsehoods. You are throwing out misleading traps again. Shenzhequan, do you really think I won't dare to kill you? The blade is already on my neck. Shenzhequan turned his head to look askance at the blade. You can just give the command to take down my head. Shi Hongxian did not dare to let up even the slightest. In this confrontation, he was not willing to miss any of the subtleties in Shenzhequan's expression. Although he was sitting tight in the chair, he was actually even more anxious than Shenzhequan deep down. Yet, the more he warned himself not to be influenced by Shenzhequan, the more he was being spurred on by the expression in Shenzhequan's eyes and by his tone. For what it's worth, we are brothers. Shi Hongxian said with a superficial, insincere smile. Lanzhou, tell me the truth and I'll leave your corpse in one piece. Much ado about nothing. Feel free to do it. Shenzhequan egged him on. Come on. Shi Hongxian's fingers dug tightly into the chair handles as he exchanged stares with Shenzhequan. But Shenzhequan was too calm and composed. Thus, Shi Hongxian said, aren't you worried about Qi Huilian at all? Once you're dead, I'll skin that old dog and sell him out to the Empress Dowager to plead for leniency. Shenzhequan said, if you handed over Qi Huilian to the Empress Dowager 20 years earlier, she might really pardon you for your negligence this time. But Qi Huilian is now worthless. He's not worth anything alive, and he's worth nothing dead. You are a veteran merchant, would you feel at ease to do such a losing deal? I think you've lost your mind and gone silly from the illness. Qi Huilian is merely feigning insanity. Shi Hongxian said. Do you think I can't tell? In order to survive, he tucks his tail between his legs and struggles on whilst at death's door. That's quite the convincing act he has put on. Shenzhequan sneered, are you trying to sound me out at this point in time? He's just a lunatic. If he is a lunatic, then who are you studying under? Shi Hongxian stretched his neck out. The Temple of Penitence made you a new person. How did that last remaining survivor of the Shen clan who was so much like a lapdog 6 years ago become so brazen and resourceful, huh? Lanzhou, you tell me. Man proposes, heaven disposes. Shenzhequan's expression was gloomy. Don't you know what it's like to be a lapdog at others' beck and call and have them kick you around? If I don't shed my skin, how can I break out of the hardships and make it out of there? It's better to rely on oneself than on others. You and I are both fleeing for our lives from perilous circumstances, and yet we are now having an internal strife. Shi Hongxian, you sure are doing a good job of getting rid of someone as soon as he outlives his usefulness, much like killing the donkey the moment it leaves the millstone. If you hadn't leaked the news, then how would Hua Pavilion collapsed for no reason? We call ourselves brothers on the inside, but the moment you step out, you stabbed me in the back. I can't be compared to you when it comes to being ruthless. But as fate would have it, I didn't die. Shi Hongxian said in a chilling voice. You want to ingratiate yourselves with both parties, but there's no such thing as having your cake and eating it too, is there? What can second young Master Xiao give me that is worthy enough of raising your suspicions to such an extent? Shenzhequan said sarcastically, he's not Xiao Jiming, he can't be the Prince of Liege, nor can he command the Liege's armored cavalry. He's merely a trapped beast in the Chu capital. What's the difference between him and me? Whatever it is that he has, I have no lack of it either. He has a good life that you don't have. Shi Hongxian said. He's the second son of the Prince of Liege, a legitimate lawful son from the direct line of descendants, born of the same mother who birthed Xiao Jiming. Even if he can't inherit the title and position of the Prince of Liege, he has tens of thousands of willing troops at his disposal. Aren't soldiers precisely what you're lacking? With an indifferent expression, Shen Zequin said, I hold a post in the Jinyi Wei, why would I need troops for? It's only in Chu capital that I have a way to survive. If I leave the Chu capital, there is nowhere else I can put my abilities to use. I'm the 8th illegitimate son of Shen Wei, while you are the 2nd legitimate son of the Shi clan. Have you and I ever had an easy time before? This shows that there's no difference between the sons of lawful or common ranks. When it comes to people, even heaven cannot reach a final verdict until the very end. By speaking such treacherous words, you have already regarded the societal order of this world as nothing. Shi Hongxian raised his finger and pointed to his own toe. But you got to admit that some people are born to be masters, as the continual successions of the upper echelons of the noble clans keep it going. This is fate. If there is no difference between those of common birth and legitimate birth, then how can the bloodline maintain its legitimacy? He who is surnamed Li is just simply a cut above you with the surname Shen. Shen Zequin stared at Shi Hongxian and roared with laughter. Insanity stirred once again in those expressive eyes as he said, That's right, that's right. When Qiao Tianya saw the upsurge of Shen Zequin's murderous intent in this split second, he almost thought that Shen Zequin was going to draw his blade. He did not expect what Shen Zequin had to say next in a genial tone. If that's the case, then what future can I have by following second young master Xiao? If you believe the rumors and lay a trap to kill me today, then you will come to regret it someday in the future. Shi Hongxian faltered, besieged by doubts and unable to come to a decision, but his expression betrayed nothing. He merely lowered his eyes and said, Even when faced with imminent death, you're still putting on an act. You came here as soon as you left the Temple of Penitence. Isn't that proof enough that this place is important to you? Of course. Shen Zequin's emotions seemed to have sunk into a deep pool of waters, where there was not even a trace of a ripple to be seen. He said, That is Qi Huilian you're talking about. Even though he has gone crazy, he is also the Qi Huilian who used to be the Triple UN top scholar, one which the Crown Prince of the Eastern Palace personally invited to take on a leading official post. Now that he's in my hands, I'll never hand him over to anyone else unless he's dead. Shen Zequin was right in his presumption that Shi Hongxian was setting up a trap to deceive him. Shi Hongxian had no idea at all if Qi Huilian was insane for real or just putting on an act. He merely wanted to preemptively try to catch Shen Zequin off guard. Although Shi Hongxian did not have Shuizhuo's capability, he had an ability one would find hard to surpass, and that was his eloquence. The reason he was able to incite the Imperial Academy to rise in rebellion with just a single tea-house meeting was all because of his glib tongue. However, this also happened to be his weak point. If he was really certain that Shen Zequin and Xiao Qiye were setting up a trap to screw him over, then he would not give Shen Zequin the chance to open his mouth. He dragged his sickly body here because he could not be sure if Shen Zequin was collaborating with Xiao Qiye. That was why he had to bring out his own special skill and engaged in a battle of words to trick Shen Zequin into telling the truth. What do you want Qi Huilian for? Shi Hongxian asked with dread and fear. Shen Zequin suddenly hit upon an idea. Going along with it, he bent over and said to Shi Hongxian, Qi Huilian was the crown prince's teacher. There was the incident at the Eastern Palace back then, and I heard that there was an imperial grandson still in his infancy. Jilei did not reveal the imperial grandson's whereabouts to me before his death. I was thinking that perhaps Qi Huilian knew, so I had to keep a close watch on him. Shi Hongxian's countenance changed in spite of himself. He said, the Empress Dowager will never leave any survivors behind. It's common practice to stamp out trouble at its source. So, what are you daydreaming about? Shen Zequin said, if there is no imperial heir in hand, who would dare to conspire to murder His Majesty? There will be nobody else with the surname Li in Great Zhou if he dies. You aren't the one who did it, and it isn't me either. Instead of falling out with me here, why not put down your blade and discuss a countermeasure with me? How would I know that it's not you? Shi Hongxian did not move. No one but you know the structure of a Hua Pavilion best. It's simply too convenient for you to tamper with it. In addition, I keep encountering calamities one after another, yet you keep getting promoted again and again. Your meritorious deeds sure have grown. I have only just gotten into His Majesty's good graces. It's just the time for me to build up my strength and climb my way up. So why would I kill him? What's more, you and I have been conspiring together for quite some time, so why would second young Master Xiao believe me based on some empty promises? Shenzequan gradually let out a smile at him. Even if I kill you, it should be at a time when there's much more in it for me. The way he said it was half in jest, but it made the blood of those listening run cold. Shi Hongxian covered his lips and coughed, using this excuse to evade Shenzequan's gaze. Although they had conspired together to kill off many people, Shi Hongxian still could not confront Shenzequan head-on. This was not a momentary fear, but fear accumulated over their course of acquaintanceship. He could not forget the way Jilei looked with his skin flayed. That was why he wanted to act quickly now that his suspicions were aroused. This man cannot be allowed to live, Shi Hongxian thought. Once the time was right, he had to kill him off no matter what. Such a man would certainly not let himself be used for Shi Hongxuan's own purposes. His talk about there being no differences between those of legitimate and common birth had already revealed his lack of respect and reverence for the 8 great clans. Everyone was attempting the impossible that ran against the interests of their opponents, much like bargaining with a tiger for its hide. And what they were competing against was who would be faster in the days to come. Shi Hongxian secretly made up his mind. He smiled too, and said, "I'm scaring you only because I was scared myself after being crushed in that pit. Lanzhou, you'll surely understand if you were the one lying in there. What are you people standing around there for? Put away your blades. Don't hurt His Excellency the Judge." The surrounding blades returned to their sheaths, one after another. But Shi Hongxian did not tell his men to withdraw from the room. Pulling at his fox fur, he continued, "Everything happened too suddenly these past few days. With our communications cut off, it's inevitable that we would come to be mutually suspicious of one another. It's all good now that we've cleared the air. Come, Lanzhou. Take your seat, and we'll talk." Shenzequan said, "Blades and swords have no eyes. Second young master, next time, give me a warning first so that I can be prepared for it and won't be as in such haste as I am today. It's remarkable how you remain composed in the face of danger." Shi Hongxian lifted the teapot to infuse tea. "As you know, what we are doing can cost us our heads. I was really forced into a corner this time. Otherwise, how could I have treated you in such a way? It's all because I was forced to. I got anxious seeing how second young Master Xiao is going to be as pleased as ever riding the crest of success soon. Come, come. Take a seat quickly. Or are you still holding it against me? I, with the surname Shen, am unworthy of being in a high position." Shenzequan sized up the room. "How would I dare to sit next to you?" Shi Hongxian laughed out loud and said, "Rubbish. They are merely words spoken to disparage others. How can you be the same as the others? Take a seat." Only then did Shenzequan take his seat. Shi Hongxian held out the tea to him and said with an apologetic smile, "If you ask me, the surname Shen is really holding you back. Don't you agree? If you had been born in the Han clan or the Fei clan, there wouldn't be this much animosity between us, right? Lanzhou, please be appeased. Now tell me seriously. What are you keeping this Ji Huilian for?" Shenzequan touched his sleeve pocket before he remembered his ivory fan was lost. He said, "The old loony has been scared stiff by the crown prince's suicide where he slit his own throat. I ran into him all the time when I was in the Temple of Penitence and heard some of his intermittent ravings, so I thought of keeping him just in case there's a future need. You should have asked me about the matter regarding the imperial grandson." Shi Hongxian brushed aside the tea foam. "Don't think about this matter anymore. It's impossible. Not even a chance of it happening. Shenzhen turned the teacup around gently. He did not drink it. Shi Hongxian drank the tea. He grunted twice and said, that task was carried out together by Ji Lei and Shen Wei, both of whom were ruthless. Even the fair and beautiful crown princess was strangled to death by them, and you want to pin your hopes on them showing the imperial grandson mercy? What's more, they were the sworn enemies of the imperial grandson for killing his father. Do you really think they had nothing better to do than to sow the seeds of future trouble for themselves? Was that what Shui Zhuo said, too? Shi Hongxian cast him a look and asked, why are you asking about Yanking specifically? You're familiar with one another. Shenzhen's gaze did not falter. You're on good terms with him. Wasn't your promotion to the Bureau of Evaluations this time precisely because you listened to his advice? Both of you are Zhuge Liang. I'll listen to whoever makes more sense. Shi Hongxian threw the matter back at him and said, they said scholars look down on one another. Why are you smart people also mutually belittling each other? That's really not it. Shenzhen said. You were transferred into the Bureau of Evaluations before the inspections and subsequently, this lucrative assignment fell upon you. That would make others green with envy. It's hard to say that this wasn't the reason you were set up. Shui Zhuo has been an official for quite some years, and he never thought of it? If he did, then why did he still persuade you to go? Shi Hongxian was drinking tea when his movement paused. He said, who would have expected someone to really strike out at me? It's not Yanking's fault. He has rendered a meritorious service by protecting the emperor at the Nanlin hunting grounds. Yet he knew to conceal his abilities and bide his time on that occasion and didn't go all out. Instead, he went to the Court of Judicial Review for more experience. Having spoken to this point, Shenzhen continued no further and merely smiled at Shi Hongxian. I just find it strange. As if he had not heard it, Shi Hongxian smiled too. Oh, my. This interruption almost made me forget about it. Lanzhou, now that I've recovered and His Majesty has woken up, the Chief Surveillance Bureau will start to impeach me. Help me think of a way. I can't be transferred out of Chu capital. The fault lies with His Majesty this time, but no one would dare blame him. Meanwhile, both the Ministry of Works and Ministry of Revenue are shirking responsibilities and shifting the blame around. You happen to land right in the middle. Everyone will naturally target you. Shenzhen set aside the teacup. This is a tough one to deal with. Panxiangja and Wei Go, huh? Shi Hongxian said. At the end of it all, they just want money. Getting rebuked is really no big deal. They are only latching onto me because they wanted to take advantage of the situation to raise the price and make me fish out the funds to pay for the shortfall with my own money. How many people died this time? As long as His Majesty is fine, everything else can be bought. Without tens of thousands of taels this time, I'm afraid it will be hard to settle this. Shenzhen said with a smile. I have money. Shi Hongxian set aside the teacup too and said, but I'm not willing to give it to them just like that. I'm at fault for accompanying His Majesty to the brothel. But the public ditches have nothing to do with me. I'm not going to oblige if they want to slap unreasonable demands on me and use me as a scapegoat. An official 1 grade rank higher can oppress an official 1 rank lower than him. Even if you are not in the wrong, it will still become your fault. Reasoning with them won't work and it's pointless to leave the mess as it is. Shenzhen maintained his composure and said, it will really be a pain to deal with. Shi Hongxian said, it won't be that hard. I'm telling you, the Emperor's heart is with me. Even if they want to punish me severely, they still have to see what His Majesty thinks. We mustn't lose our heads before second young Master Xiao has been dealt with. I am confident that His Majesty will definitely not be the same as he used to be after waking up this time. End chapter. Note: Zhuge Liang was a famous statesman, ideologist, and strategist during the Three Kingdoms period. He was also the renowned advisor of Liu Bei, the founder of the Shu Han dynasty. His name was used here to refer to an intelligent schemer. Qiang Jin Jiu. Book 1, I Was an Outcast Liege. Chapter 72, Noble Rank Advancement. Shi Hongxian spoke with such certainty that Shen Zequan just had to look askance at him. But Shi Hongxian was not willing to continue discussing that further and merely said, "You don't have a proper place to stay now, so it's not convenient to keep Qi Huilian around. Why not leave him with me? It isn't appropriate to leave a raving lunatic at your place either." Shen Zequan said calmly. "What do you want him for?" "In my opinion," Shi Hongxian held out his hand flat, like a hand blade. "The best option would be to finish him off. It's inadvisable to get yourself involved with all those old affairs. The more you know, the worse it'll be for you." Shi Hongxian brandished his hand and looked at Shen Zequan. "Or are you unwilling to?" Shen Zequan said, "Of course I'm unwilling to. He's an old minister during the reign of Emperor Yanji. He knows Shen Wei well. I have a use for keeping him alive." If Shen Zequan had agreed readily, Shi Hongxian would not have believed him easily. So, he spoke with 70% truth and 30% falsehood to throw Shi Hongxian off. As expected, Shi Hongxian made no further mention of killing him. He said, "Are you still thinking of investigating Shen Wei's case? You should have said so earlier. Lanzhou, do you have to go so far as to hide this bit of matter from me? When have I ever hidden it from you?" Shen Zequan smiled as he lifted the teapot and poured tea for Shi Hongxian. "Isn't this matter obvious? As long as Shen Wei remains guilty, I'll never be able to live honorably. The evidence against him is conclusive, and his infamy has already been deeply impressed on everyone's mind. Even if the charge against him is dropped, it will not be enough to convince the masses." Shi Hongxian said, "A felony like selling his country to seek personal glory is something that can never be scrubbed clean, even over several lifetimes after. Moreover, it's pointless to just rely on the imperial court's pardon alone. There are many kinds of rumors in this world. Shen Wei has already been crucified to death under the spray of spittle. Poor you. I can only advise you to forget about this matter. It's not something you'll be able to clear up." Shen Zequan silently set down the teapot. Seeing the atmosphere growing heavier, Shi Hongxian continued, "You are now already a Jin Yue of 5th rank, and you still take those rumors and slanders to heart? Please don't. Look ahead. You've done a good job on this mission, so you should be getting a promotion, yes?" Shen Zequan said, "Nothing is confirmed yet. I haven't even settled down in my post of Southern Judge. Charging all the way up to the top isn't necessarily a good thing. This time, you and I have to act carefully. We are really gambling with our lives here." Shi Hongxian tucked his fox fur properly and said, "We have to investigate and get to the bottom of this matter. The other party is hiding in the dark, while we are out there exposed in the open. If we can't get to the bottom of the matter, then it would be hard to guard against the enemy. I'm the one who got crushed this time. But what about the next time? You should watch out, too. It's inconvenient for me to stay for long here today. Lanzhou, I'll see you at the residence in a few days." Saying so, Shi Hongxian rose to his feet and surveyed the surroundings again. "This courtyard seems decent to me. If you don't have enough money, just let me know. Just don't take what happened today to heart, all right?" With that, Shi Hongxian smiled. Shen Zequan smiled back. Both of them reconciled, as if there was no ill feeling between them, as if what happened earlier was merely just them horsing around with one another. Qiao Tianya sent Shi Hongxian off. As soon as he returned to the courtyard, he saw Shen Zequan standing with his back to him and with his face facing the main hall. He was wiping his hands with a handkerchief. The setting sun outside the courtyard crossed over, casting a scarlet-red hue over Shen Zequan's embroidered python robe. His slightly lowered neck was as fair as jade. He wiped those slender, flawless fingers which were clearly clean, yet he seemed to detest them to bits. Is he gone? Shenzequan turned his head aside to ask. I saw him get on the horse carriage. Qiao Tianya stopped a short distance away from Shenzequan. He did not move forward but bent over to pick up a fallen leaf on the ground that had been trampled and scrutinized it for a moment. The men he hired are all masters from the martial fraternity, yet a fight didn't break out. Most likely, Ji Gang Shifu was on his guard, and the Grand Tutor did not resist. Shifu burned his face with fire to ruin his looks, all to conceal his identity and live incognito. Not starting a fight hastily is a wise move. Shenzequan neatly folded that blue handkerchief. Teacher mustn't remain in Shi Hongxuan's hands for too long. We need to think of a way. Qiao Tianya crushed the leaf without disrupting Shenzequan's contemplation. Shenzequan suddenly turned around and was dazzled by the sunset glow. But he did not flinch or hide from it as he looked towards that towering and majestic palace. Legitimate bloodline, Shenzequan murmured and asked Qiao Tianya. Who's living there? Qiao Tianya followed his gaze and looked over as well. He replied, the Li clan. No, Shenzequan's eyes were cold and indifferent as he said with a mocking smile, it's a deer. If Great Zhou lost its deer, the heroes of the world may all pursue it. Today, you say it's the Li clan. Tomorrow, I can also say it's some random person on the street. Whoever can step onto that dragon throne at the peak will be the legitimate, rightful one. Qiao Tianya prided himself on being a nonconformist with an unconventional, rebellious streak, but even he did not expect Shenzequan to have the audacity to say such words. In his astonishment, he took a few steps back and looked out into the distance at the palace. He said, such rebellious words are tantamount to having no respect for the law. You know there are countless gentlemen in this world, all of them good men with unyielding steadfastness and unfailing loyalty. Shenzequan kept the handkerchief back into his sleeve and said, the Earl of Biancha, Lu Pinjian, is known as the wolf and tiger of the border town. To protect and hold on to Bianjun Commandery, he has given away all his family fortunes. Although he has received a noble title conferred by the emperor, all he eats every day are pickled vegetables and sweet potatoes. Subsequently, Lu Guangbai becomes hard-pressed for military funds whenever there is a war. And because Lu Guangbai is not on good terms with the 8 great clans, he has never been conferred a noble title despite all his outstanding and illustrious military achievements. So tell me, is it that satisfying to be such a gentleman and loyal official? Ask your conscience first before we talk about satisfaction. To be an outspoken and candid minister, you have to sacrifice the self and give up your selfish desires. Suotian passes Fenyushan's entire family of loyal heroes died as martyrs in battles. This is what we call the epitome of righteousness. Shenzequan's insanity, which he had suppressed earlier, swept over him again. He stood up and burst out laughing, saying, Qiao Tianya, you are not a nonconformist who has deviated from the norms at all. You are a prisoner of the norms. You are one who can be a gentleman. Qiao Tianya said, Master. The sunset glow on the horizon faded into night, and darkness came shrouding all over. The pear tree bared its withered branches and brandished them threateningly, casting shadows over Shenzequan's raised face. But, in this world, someone has to be the traitor and the rebel. I don't believe that fate is decided by the heavens. If there's a blade held against my neck someday in the future, I will not show mercy even if it's Liege unhung, let alone Shi Hongxian. The bloodline legitimacy Shi Hongxian speaks of is no different from the nonsensical ravings of a fool. Anyone will die when a blade slices across their necks, there's no exception regardless of whether one is born of the legitimate wife or an illegitimate one born of a concubine. In the cold, dreary night, the crow of dusk let out a few mournful caws. Shenzequan looked back at Qiao Tianya. My ambition is not to be a gentleman, nor is it to be a good person. Since vindictiveness has become the precept for which I live by, then a kindness given is kindness given, a wrong done is a wrong done. I want Shi Hongxian to pay with his life for what happened today. The wind assailed the scattered clouds and scraped the remaining leaf off the tip of the branch. Asterisk asterisk asterisk. The impeachments from the Chief Surveillance Bureau came bearing down upon them in torrents. Shi Hongxian, Pan Xiangjia, Wei Huixing, and even Hai Lianji were all censured one after another. Sen Yu took charge as the chief commentator as the few parties attacked one another on the imperial court. Having just woken up, Liege hardly spoke much these days and simply let them argue among themselves as he held court session in Mingli Hall. Hai Lianji was already in ill health before the epidemic happened, and lately he looked even more emaciated. Not once had he had the moment to rest, and now, listening to the Ministry of Works and the Ministry of Revenue starting an argument again, he could not help but let out a few violent coughs. Li Jianheng hurriedly said, "Secretariat Elder, there's no need to rise. If you have something to say, you may voice it out while seated." Hai Lianji bowed his thanks and covered his mouth with a handkerchief. After his coughing eased up a little, he said, "The Grand Secretariat has already submitted the clauses for rewards and punishments this time to His Majesty's table yesterday. If Your Majesty finds any part inappropriate after looking through it, you may reject it and let the Grand Secretariat discuss it again." Li Jianheng had been absent-minded, and Hai Lianji originally thought that he would want to sit on this one out. He did not expect him to say after a moment's pause, "Zhen have seen it. And there are indeed some parts that Zhen don't understand and would like to ask the Secretariat Elder about to clear Zhen's doubts." The entire hall of officials was dumbfounded the moment the words left his mouth. Li Jianheng opened the memorial and said, "The Imperial Army has done a meritorious service by dredging up the public ditches. Xiao Qiye is already a second-rank viceroy of the Imperial Army. Just the reward of some gold and jades is simply too meager." Hai Lianji answered, "The military drill ground on Mount Feng is undergoing an expansion this year, and the money will be arranged for by the Ministry of Revenue. This could be said to be a waiver of his biggest expenditure this year. This humble subject feels that the reward cannot be too excessive. This is sufficient enough." Li Jianheng said, "But the deployment of medicinal concoctions, the quarantining of the patients and dredging of the public ditches are no small matter. He has done a great job with them all." Hai Lianji pondered it over and said, "It's true that he has rendered meritorious service. But these matters are not something the Imperial Army can achieve on its own. If he's shown too much special favor, Zhen wants to advance his noble rank." Li Jianheng closed the memorial and looked at Hai Lianji. "He's the second legitimate son of the Prince of Liege. If he had gone into battle and slain the enemies, then he should have a noble rank and title by now." Hai Lianji did not answer immediately. Li Jianheng said, "Zhen have been thinking about these issues the few days Zhen was confined to the sickbed. Zhen wishes to confer the title of Marquis of Dingdu upon Xiao Qiye. What does the Secretariat Elder think?" Hai Lianji said, "You mustn't, Your Majesty. Unless it's military achievements, one cannot be conferred a noble title. Although Xiao Qiye has made great contributions this time, it's far from the point where he can be made a marquis. The Lu clan of Qidong's Bayanjun Commandery has numerous military achievements to their name. Yet, only the old General Lu Pinjian is currently conferred with the title of the Earl of Bayansha. Firstly, Xiao Qiye has not stabilized the borders, and secondly, he has not driven out the enemies. This subject fears it will only be hard to convince the public if Your Majesty make him a marquis out of the blue. To begin with, he has done a meritorious service by protecting Zhen at the Nanlin hunting grounds, and he has, yet again, shown no fear in the face of danger this time. It's a good thing the epidemic did not spread. This matter concerns the peace and stability of Chu capital. Is this still not considered a merit? The Earl of Bayansha, Lu Pinjian, has transferred the garrison troops of Bayanjun Commandery in private numerous times. The reason his noble rank has not advanced is merely because his merits are offset by his demerits and vice versa." As Li Jianheng spoke, his eyes reddened. He covered his face and choked with sobs. "Are you trying to say that Zhen's life is nothing worth mentioning either?" The purpose of bestowing the title of Marquis upon him is to commend and honor him. There will be no increment of the numbers of soldiers in the imperial army, and no establishments of private rights. It's just a title in name only. Is this not even acceptable, either? Wei Huigu initially meant to impeach Xiao Qiye for privately deploying the medicinal herbs without authorization, but seeing that the situation was not favorable for his cause, he changed his mind and said, "What your majesty thinks is reasonable. Xiao Qiye's decisiveness and fearlessness in times of danger should be commended and rewarded. But what the Secretariat Elder says is also true. In this humble subject's opinion, why not honor Xiao Qiye with the title Earl of Dingdu first?" No, Liege would not budge. There's absolutely no logic in doing so. Your Majesty, if you grant Xiao Qiye a title today, then you will greatly disappoint the old general at the frontier. It's an established rule of the imperial court that a noble title cannot be conferred on one without military achievements to his name. Liege Unhung said, "How about we first promote Lu Pinjian to a marquis, then confer the title of Earl upon Xiao Qiye? Does the Secretariat still not agree to this?" He spoke of conferment as if it was child's play. Lianji's coughing intensified. He wanted to say something more, but Pan Xiongja beat him to it. He said in a fluster, "This humble subject thinks it's a good thing. This would be your Majesty's first conferment since your Majesty's ascension to the throne. It's a special honor. Secretariat Elder, one mustn't be a stickler for conventions on every single matter. Now that he has indeed made a contribution, what's the issue with making an exception?" Seeing that the noble clans unanimously urging Liege Unhung, Kong Qiu could not help but kowtow and said, "This humble subject thinks the Secretariat Elder is right. Your Majesty, Lu Pinjian has spared no effort to defend the Bayanjun commandery. Even if he's to be conferred a title, it shouldn't be done in such a hasty and sloppy." Hasty? Zhen have been repeatedly asking the opinions of all of you here, and yet you still say it's hasty. With a fling of his sleeves, Liege Unhung rose to his feet and pointed at Kong Qiu, saying, "Zhen can see that you are always going along with the Secretariat Elder's words on the imperial court. The sovereign and his ministers. Exactly who is your sovereign, and whose minister are you?" The various ministers all kneeled and said in unison, "Your Majesty, please be appeased." Kong Qiu immediately said, "Your Majesty is the sovereign of this humble subject, and this humble subject does His Majesty's bidding. But it's indeed inappropriate to bypass the regulations and go ahead with the conferment. I am going to confer the title upon him." Liege Unhung wept as he said, "Each time Zhen met with calamity one after the other, it was only with Xian's help that Zhen could avert disaster and escape unscathed. Even when Zhen want to bestow a title upon him, you people have to turn it down and throw obstructions in Zhen's way. If the Secretariat Elder has the final say over all the matters in this imperial court, so why not let the Secretariat Elder sit on this throne instead?" These words truly struck Lianji where it hurts. Lianji's knees became unstable as he covered his lips and coughed violently. He never met with officials outside the court, and in the capital, he had never held any private feasts. In order to not get involved in a faction or clique, he worked hard day and night. Moreover, he taught and guided Liege Unhung with utmost care, all because he feared getting slandered and stabbed in the back. He was the most trustworthy minister, a proper right-hand man of the emperor, not a tyrannical official in power. Seeing Lianji coughing until he was all hunched over, Liege Unhung did not dare to create a scene further and got someone to help Lianji up. Nevertheless, he still said, "No matter what, Xiao Qiye shall be conferred a title." With the commotion in Mingli Hall, the imperial edict was issued a few days later. Like a bolt of thunder out of the blue, it caused a startled wave of memorials flooding in from all over. Lu Guangbai brought his father to receive the imperial edict at the Bayanjun commandery. Lu Pinjian was promoted to the rank of marquis. Even he himself was at a loss at how to react in the very moment he held the edict in his hands. The Lu clan had buried generation after generation of its people in this yellow sand. In his heyday, Lu Pinjian was also known as the wolf and tiger of the border town. He was renowned for his military exploits, along with Xiao Fangxiu and Qi Shiu. And now, injured and sick all over, and before he retired from active duty to take up an advisory post, he finally received his reward. Yet, it was all to pave the way for a junior of the younger generation. Xiao Qiye was originally sleeping in his residence when he heard of the arrival of the imperial edict, thus he put on his clothes and came out to receive it. After reading the imperial edict, Fu Man beamed and moved to help him up, only to see a pale-looking Xiao Qiye who looked as if he had no intention of receiving the edict. This title mustn't be accepted. What Hai Lianji had said was true. Although Xiao Qiye had rendered meritorious service by protecting the emperor at the Nanlin hunting grounds, and had played a critical role in the latest incidents, his contributions were still poles apart from the hard-won military merits gained from battling with real weapons at the frontiers. Who was Lu Pinjian? That was the man who his own father, Xiao Fangxiu, regarded as his sworn brother. Now that they had humiliated and trampled over Lu Pinjian to confer on Xiao Qiye a title, how would Xiao Qiye be able to take office in the various garrison troops at the frontiers? How would he be able to convince the masses? And the most crucial thing was, what would the Lu clan think? Could the Xiao and the Lu still be sworn brothers? Ding Du, he who restores stability to the capital. This was simply to nail him dead in the Chu capital. Had Li Jianheng's bout with his illness fucking fried his brain. Rage bubbled up in Xiao Qiye. What's more, he had not gotten a good sleep. He tugged at the official robe he had not worn properly and suppressed his fury to say expressionlessly, "Go and report back to His Majesty that Xiao Xian is not worthy of the title and does not dare to accept this overwhelming favor from His Majesty, nor does he dare to accept this heaven-sent noble rank." End chapter. Note: the title was basically to honor him for helping to restore calm/stability, Ding, to the capital, Du, but Ding also means to fix in place.